Alright, what's up, guys? We are back at it once more. This is going to be the not last video in terms of progression, but at least last for now. Keep in mind, so this is basically just like the current last three bosses in the game, but with the update coming with Gloomrot that's going to be here, this is definitely going to change. There's probably definitely going to be some more stuff to do after this. We have no idea what it's going to look like, but for now, we're just going to go over basically what to do at end game in the current state of V Rising. If you remember last time, we had just defeated Styx, level 76. I had mentioned that you kind of want to be a comfortable level for that boss. And we're just going to go over really quick about the, how to approach these last three bosses. Again, that's Winged Horror, Solaris the Immaculate, and Gore the Behemoth. So me personally, I believe that in terms of like difficulty, it kind of goes Winged Horror is the easiest, and then I would say Gore or Solaris. They're kind of tied, just depending on how much you've fought them. I find Solaris easier than Gore honestly, but that's just me. But regardless, whenever you approach these guys, I would say probably the most important thing to do is kind of know your plan of attack beforehand and not trying to figure out what to do. If that means looking at a guide, you can look at a guide. If it means fighting the boss for a little bit and seeing what happens, you can do that. I would say at least for Winged Horror, that's definitely a possibility. Gore gets a little tricky, and Solaris gets way more complicated than what he is whenever you first start fighting him. So again, just like with any boss, doing a dry run is fine. Dodge as long as possible, get an idea what's going on. So we're gonna start off with the Winged Horror. You can kind of fight this guy probably at the same level you fought Styx at. I find the Winged Horror, as long as you have a specific, certain types of abilities, he's pretty easy and straightforward. But let's just say for the sake of discussion, we farmed up to about 76 or so for Styx, around there. We can come fight the Winged Horror. You need Bat Form for this boss to be able to reach him. He can take a little while, but I'm not going to give. If you want to go look up a guide for him, you can. Again, like I said, I find him pretty simple. But just to give you a basic rundown of how I approach him, so I use a crossbow and a Reaper. That's basically what happens is I weapon swap my weapons. So I use Reaper E, crossbow Q. And then in terms of the abilities, you kind of have a few choices. You can do Chaos Volley, Power Surge. I've seen Chaos Volley, Purgatory. And then also, Blood Choice can actually make this fight hilariously easy. If you get a high Scholar Blood against this guy, it's kind of just instant game over. Power Surge is really good against him because it cleanses the Chaos Burn that he inflicts. He can do a lot of damage, but I don't know. It's like just run around and run away from him and dodge whenever you need to dodge, and it's pretty easy. And then you can also use Thief Blood in any of these bosses. That sounds very weird, but you can, or at least have it in your inventory in a bottle. Just because the shard afterwards, it might be nice to have for shard. Next, we're just going to hit Gore Crusher. Gore Crusher's pretty difficult. The higher level, the better. I've seen him done at level 68. I'm going to link that, actually. So this guy here, Crimson Silhouette, I've been following him for a long time, basically since he started doing a series he's been doing, where he essentially is going through every single boss, killing them 10 levels lower, and having frailed blood. So essentially, the way I see it is if he can do that, I mean, we should be able to take this guy out on level, right? It's difficult, but you can use this guy. I'll post this in the description. This guy's a beast. If you want to, if you need an idea about how he does it, you can check this out. But essentially, I do very similar things, but usually I'm not as low level as he was doing in that video. I use Reaper Crossbow. Oh, by the way, also, you can use Slicers. If you swap to Slicers, you can use Slicer Q to basically just get invulnerability to dodge attacks if you have that cooldown up. You can also use E in any of these fights to kind of just take a quick little break because it breaks aggro for a second. They won't reset, the bosses won't reset, but it will allow you to kind of reposition if you're in a tricky situation. So yeah, slicers, Reaper, crossbow, those are pretty good. You can also use axes as well, but I find Reaper's a lot better, in my opinion, for most of these guys. Again, for Gore Crusher, you could use Chaos Volley. Chaos Volley is just king when it comes to bossing, and just a lot of things in general. Ward of the Damned is really good because skeletons can help draw aggro away. I've also seen this done, and I've done this myself using at end game. This was with I think I was level 81 when I did this, but I've seen it done with Brute Blood. I think you use it's been so long since I've done this. It's like Brute Blood, Crimson Aegis, and maybe Blood Rage, and then axes. And you basically just dodge his moves and then just go crazy and heal yourself like crazy. And you can kind of you can't really out heal him. You don't want to like trade with him, but you can melt him that way. It's a silly thing, but you might want to look that one up as well. So just general ideas with that guy. Oh no, we're in a boss battle. General ideas with this guy is kill the ads as soon as possible whenever they show up. Chaos Burn on Gore Crusher as much as you possibly can, because even if you're not actively attacking him, that Chaos Burn is slowly doing damage. Whenever he spawns his clone, Chaos Burn, you can kind of Chaos Burn both of them, but primarily you really do want to focus on him, because whenever the clone goes down, he just goes down for a little bit, and then he comes up. But in terms of just fighting him and whatnot, yeah, at the end, he can spawn a lot of ads if you take too long, so it might get a little tricky then. But yeah, just do that a few times, you'll understand how to fight him. And then finally we have Solaris the Immaculate. I do have a guide for him. I enjoyed finding that guy. I know a lot of people have had an issue with him. You've had a lot of issues with that guy. But what I find the easiest, so this guide, if you find it difficult to do like weapon swaps and swap around from weapon to weapon, this guide shows it's like primarily just I just use Reaper in this one. The easiest thing, the biggest tips I can give you is fire resistance potions are amazing, because the holy damage he gives you, even though it's he's doing quote unquote holy, it actually burns you. So fire resist helps negate that. Reaper crossbow again, swap between those. You can also use Slicer as well to dodge things. I use so Slicer E is really good as well. It actually can help a lot, specifically against the angel, because you can use it to drop aggro whenever the angel's coming to attack you and Solaris is doing stuff, and just kind of walk away from the guys. As in most of the video, if you've seen the guides that I posted, as in most of them, you'll notice distance is key. The more distance you have, more further you are away from these guys, the easier it is to dodge them. So other than that, Chaos Volley, I use Chaos Barrier personally. You can use Sink and Coil as well. I've seen people do that, but for me, it's Chaos Barrier. It's just super easy to do. You can also use Spider ult, really helpful, just kind of nuking down and doing some damage there. High Scholar Blood, as usual, High Scholar Blood is just insane, but High Scholar Blood makes this fight significantly easier. So try to do your best not to get hit the first phase of this fight. It's not actually really not that difficult. It's pretty straightforward what he's doing. And then also if you have a Scholar Blood like this, you can see I'm just like healing up anytime I take damage. Chaos Volley on cooldown. When the angel spawns, you can tag them both, so you burn both of them with Chaos Burn. But specifically, you do want to focus Solaris more often. And when he drops down, he has like an orbital laser, is what I like to call it. Whenever he goes down into, once he's here with the. Where is this guy? He's down here. Here's the angel. Once he goes down here, you'll see he's kind of just goes into orbital laser mode and starts just shooting these lasers all over the place. And this is where it gets a little tricky. Again, slicers can really help here. You gotta take this guy down, the angel, and then once that's done, he goes into his third phase, where the angel will start attacking him. He pops him up, but the thing is, he will heal to full HP at that point, and you have to kind of fight him again. So anyway, tricky boss, but I can you can do it easy. If I can do it with one weapon, no weapon swaps, and just kind of like throwing stuff at him, I promise you can do it if you're swapping off weapons using crossbow Q is just huge damage. So anyway, so yeah, last thing I would say in terms of like moving the shards. So if you do have the shards, you're trying to get back to your base. If you know how this game works, somebody, people can see you moving on the map if they have an Eye of Twilight, and that can be dangerous because you can get ganked. Whenever you're having a shard equipped, you can't use teleporters or caves. You cannot get into wolf form, and you cannot ride a horse. So, it can be kind of scary to move that stuff. So what I do, if I'm doing that, if I have to move a shard, something that can help is I kind of just like stack a bunch of stuff that can help me move it. So for instance, using slicers, whenever you use E on slicers, it gives you a movement speed bonus throughout the duration of the slicer. That can help. Power Surge gives you 25% movement speed bonus while Power Surge is active. Thief Blood, I want to say, I can't remember if it actually makes you run faster, but it does. The higher the blood percentage, if you have like 100% Thief Blood or whatever, it'll reset your dash faster, your Veil or whatever, your Veil Chaos. So you can use Veil Chaos, and then also you can also use Mace Q to like jump forward. So it's kind of busy because you're like Mace Q, swap to slicers, use E, use Power Surge, dash, that kind of thing. But once you get the rhythm down of everything, you'll actually start going pretty dang quick. Like, and it can help you get back to base that way. So just have a plan of how you're going to go. Sometimes another thing is, let's say there may not be that many people with Eye of Twilights by the time, if you're going fast enough, by the time you get these shards. If that's the case, but like let's say you don't want to run up like some really obvious main road to risk it, you can kind of just like go around back ways. So like for instance, when I do Winged Horror, if I have a base on this side, I remember I had a base up here where I brought my shards once. One thing I did just in case, just because I was nervous, I didn't have any, my duo was offline. I didn't want to get ganked by two people. I ran up this way and I ran up the back. I was just as sneaky as I possibly could be. So it just, some maybe it's not necessary, but it can. For me, I think it can help. So anyway, this one's going to be a little bit shorter. I am definitely excited to find out what's going on with Gloomrot. Once we figure that out, we'll be able to make some more, decisions, theorycraft a little bit more about what to do in Tier 4. But for now, that should be it. So, good stuff. I'll link all the videos and whatnot in the description, for reference for people. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.